Hello everybody. I wanted to make one final video on this topic. So I know a couple of days ago I posted a video, a very emotional video. I've been told by some, it was a very hard watch and they did not enjoy it and they think it's not a good thing to kind of get into, and I understand that completely. And I've also gotten other reactions too where a lot of people are thankful, and most of the time mostly thankful, that I made that video where I just gave my raw emotions. Now, I like to think of myself as somebody who is, or at least tries to be, lighthearted and funny. I like to make jokes, I like to make light of a lot of things. I overall am a very shit posty person, so to speak. But and I'm gonna try to use I'm trying to use words like that lightly, and I'm gonna try in this video to be more articulate and a little more a little less funny, so to speak. I want people to really understand the words coming out of my mouth. Now, a lot of my content, a lot of my work does involve, jokes. It involves memes. It involves, like, current events or, like, pop culture references. I'm a person who prides himself by the fact that I'm able to take things in popular culture and make something out of it. Like, I would like a lot of people have compared it to something along the lines of South Park, where like you can take something and just make a complete joke out of it. And I'm going to mention them in a minute here. But I kind of right now, and and I'm restructuring this video, by the way. This is going to be the last video on this topic in this style. And I've been told that this isn't really the style of my channel, and I've been told, like, make videos like these on my second channel, which I was considering, but I think this is one of those things where I want as many people on my platform to see it. This is important to me, and I want as many of you to see it as possible. I might just, get this off this main channel and put it onto my second channel later. Same thing with the first one that I posted. I might even just delete it and put it on a scrap channel. I don't know yet. But frankly, and a lot of things have come up in the news as well. I don't have it up yet. I can try to see if I can find it. But if you already know, it's one of those things where if you know, you know. And I'm going to go off the guise of you probably know. Now, I also have a notepad here with certain talking points that I want to bring up. I have articles and such. Same thing of things that I want to bring up. So I'm kind of structuring this video. Again, it's not overly edited. Like, I know a lot of my content is heavily edited, and I pride myself on my editing. I'm always an editor first, in my opinion. Like, I've always thought of myself as, an editor. The words I say, or like, the delivery second, it's hard to explain. And if any new viewers do stumble upon this video, and I'm betting I'm betting the penny that's sitting right here, there are new people on this channel. This is not what I normally do. What I normally do are, joke videos. I like to make fun, have fun. Style wise, it's overly edited gaming content. And, this is a gaming channel. If you read the name, you would know that this is a gaming channel. That's why I'm also saying too, that this is the last video I'm doing. And I've also brought in a lot of articles that are gaming related, because I do want to keep it gaming related, because, like, this does involve gaming. And, at first I thought with this whole incident, right, when I was first writing this video, I was thinking to myself, free speech is so important to me and for what I do, because I love to express myself in a certain way, and this is a whole topic on freedom of expression. So that was initially how it was, but now it's changed, because if you haven't heard, the casings, they found a Helldivers meme on it, or a Helldivers reference on the bullet. Like, up, the up, right, down, 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 which is the stratagem for a 500 kg. And also, I've been working on a Helldivers video. So just seeing that kind of sparked a, it just sparked a new thing in my head where it's like, okay, now we're going to probably at some point have the conversation come back as in like, do video games cause violence? Right? I know for a fact that's going to come up in this conversation, and it doesn't. It does not. And even in my last video, I said, because I said to everybody, I saw the video, it was so gruesome, and it doesn't matter how many snuff films or how many video games you play, how much violent media you consume. I mean, not snuff films. That's a poor choice of words. I'm more referring to like CSI or like NCIS, like any or even Dexter, because everyone loves Dexter nowadays. It doesn't matter how much violent fiction you consume. Nothing can really prepare you for something that is so visceral and so real. And again, if you have seen that video, I really encourage you to avoid the internet for a while. And I'm doing the same thing. Once this goes out, I am deleting Instagram. Like 100% deleting Instagram, deleting Twitter. And I think I'm going to take like, a week to just cleanse myself, or maybe even like, a few days, a week, 2 weeks. I don't know how long, just to kind of bring myself back to what is the reality, like to my own reality, right? To myself. And I encourage you to do the same. And if you haven't seen the video, I really encourage you to avoid it by any means possible. And I know curiosity does get to people. I know that, the more I tell you not to watch it, the more you will want to watch it. And the best I can say is either see there's a certain angle where you don't see that much you don't see that much. You can go seek that out, or try to, if you want to watch it, but there's a censored version out there. I'm not even encouraging you to watch it. This is one of those things where you should not actively seek it out. I'm only giving you this not as a call to watch it. I'm only saying this to the people who I know for a fact there are people like that, me included, who seek out stuff like this. Like, whenever there's a car wreck, everyone slows down traffic. Now, without further ado, I think we should probably get this started so I don't take too long. Now, who is Charlie Kirk? Give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull up. Give me 1 second. Just so you guys can see what I'm looking at, right? And I was doing a lot of research on this just to make sure I can, make my points clear. Right? And obviously everything here is take everything I say, by the way, with a grain of salt. This is not for me to take every word of mine, with a grain of salt. This is my opinion. These are my statements. I encourage you to do your own research, come up to your own conclusions. Any social studies major, I hope, will tell you that. And I know for a fact, in my own experience, that is frankly not the case. And we're going to get to that in a second. I will talk about that. But I'm telling you this as somebody who is very passionate about history, about politics, just, again, social studies in general. I do encourage you to do your own research, and don't let, and obviously don't let this situation get to you. But yeah, do your own research, come to your own conclusion, and come with it in a respectful manner. I want everybody here to feel welcome. I want everyone to feel comfortable. I do not want to cause discourse. I do not want to cause, any more division. I want, except for a certain few, but I'll get to that in a second. Now, I don't want to dwell on this for too long. I want to explain who Charlie Kirk is. And from what I was just saying there for that split second, was, in my opinion, from what I've seen, was also Charlie Kirk's mission statement. Charlie Kirk was a divisive figure, putting it lightly. And, he's had a lot of opinions that I myself don't subscribe to. I know a lot of other people don't subscribe to them, but the fact is, he was somebody who would go across the United States and basically, or even the world, I think. I think I've seen a video of him in the UK. I could be wrong. You know, you never know. But this was a man who basically prided himself in starting conversation and starting a dialogue. Because if people aren't talking, this is a quote from him, if people aren't talking, that's when violence happens. And the, irony of that situation is, of course, he got shot. Now, he was a conservative. He was a Christian man. He was a conservative, and he said a lot of things that, again, I don't agree with many things. I would probably say I would agree with like maybe 60% of what he says, but that 40%, I would say no. Now, what are my views? And again, I'm not somebody who likes to talk about his political views. Well, that's not true. I've written scripts. Some videos of mine have also been, rewritten, thrown away, and blah, blah, blah. But I do want to mention this. I'm comfortable explaining, what my views are. And I'm a libertarian. I believe in the free market. I believe in, freedom of speech, guns, etc., drugs. If you want, I can even pull up the Wikipedia page here for libertarianism, because I do have that. So, and the reason why I pull this out is like, I want you to look it up for yourself, figure it out. Because I can only give my viewpoint or my own personal beliefs and my own personal anecdotes. There is a way to explain it better. I don't think I am that person who can explain it better. I'm more somebody who explains things in a more concise manner. Because like I said, I'm a guy who makes jokes, right? Like most of what I say is supposed to be in a funny or over-the-top way. And that's really my belief. But I encourage you, if you are somebody who, because I don't want my words to get mixed up, and I don't want people to, get the wrong impression of me or get the wrong idea. But I am somebody who, I believe in, the free market. I do believe in freedom of expression. I do believe in, the right to bear arms. I believe in also the rights to grow, to grow, consume cannabis, or just any of those or just any recreational drugs. Don't take that as me saying that go do any of these things, but what it is saying is these are just my beliefs that I hold personally. And I know Charlie Kirk or just you or anybody would have differing opinions, and I am friends with people with differing opinions too. And that's another thing I want to get at as well. Because, like I said, I have a lot of friends who are on all sides of the political spectrum. And, I pride myself in and, a lot of these people have come to me on different sides saying things to me like, I'm glad you gave your perspective, or, like, I didn't know this or that, or, it's crazy what you saw. This is your human reaction. I'm grateful for the support I have. Now, here's one thing I want to make clear. Here's and why I avoid talking about politics. Politics is an extremely divisive and polarizing topic, and I know that for a fact. And if I'm going to talk about politics, I'm going to do it in a not so serious manner. I am going to ridicule, make fun of even my own views. I like to compare and right here, because even if I go back to this. I know, I'm sorry I'm going back and forth with the camera, like, bringing up the screen and the camera. If that is annoying, I apologize. I'll try to do it less and less, but, just so you can, I want you to be able to see, I want this to be a conversation between you and me. I want you to see my face. And this is another thing I don't like to do. I don't like to show my face a lot. I'm very, I'm very, introverted. I don't even on camera, I don't like showing my face that much, but I want to show my face this time because I want to be more open. But anyway, sorry, that's just a tangent there. I apologize. But anyway, one comparison you can give to what a libertarian world might look like would be comparable to Night City from Cyberpunk. And that's just to give you an idea. That's just me giving you a broad idea of what it could be, where basically the entirety of society is pretty much self-dependent, free enterprise and such. Whether or not you see it as a positive or a negative is solely up to you. I'm not going to get into that because there's no point for me to get into that. Like, if you'd like to have a discussion about it, another time. Now, the reason why I bring this up is there has been a lot of mockery of Charlie Kirk's death. Now, and I want to split it. I want to have a clear split of what is memeing, as in, you know, we're making light of the situation, and also pretty much there is a clear difference between making light of a situation and justifying a situation. All right. Now, when I'm referring to this, I'm not talking about the people who are, you know, making the dokes memes saying that like Jay Schlatt was involved and blah blah blah. Those people are fine. All right. People take situations like this in a certain way. Like, you know, it's like, oh, who did it? You know, everyone's pointing, or it's like people are making jokes like, oh shit, the FBI is gonna knock on my door because I made a joke. Like, that's not who I'm referring to. When I say this, the mockery of Charlie's death, and I don't have any examples. There are plenty of examples online, but I didn't have time to get to basically pull them out, and I'm running out of time to talk about this because I want to start streaming soon. I'll explain that later. But the people who have been making a mockery of this man's death, like the guy who literally saw him get shot in the throat in person, not on camera, in person, and then starts, you know, celebrating right there. There was another person who started, like, you know, who jumped the fence, started taking hats and throwing them out into the crowd. The audacity of people going online and basically calling to violence against not only Kirk, but anybody with his similar beliefs or such is just completely disgusting, and it's terrifying to watch. Now, these kinds of people are, without, for lack of a better words, sick. They're sick in the head. I don't know how you could watch something like this and feel nothing but joy. That kind of reaction is detrimental to not only society but to yourself. All right? And I think the reason why this comes in is because of this false narrative that Charlie Kirk and conservatives are fascists. Now, again, I'm somebody who doesn't agree with conservatives on a lot of points. You know, and I'm happy to say that. I'm like, you know, and I'm willing to say that. Like, I don't agree 100%, and that's fine. We as a society, as a collective, do not agree with people. But we have now, and especially with the internet, have taken this too far. We have taken it too far to a point now that a person's life has been extinguished and he is now gone, and he is now left a widow and 2 children, who, by the way, saw this happen. All right? He has 2 daughters. To my knowledge, I believe he has 2 daughters with two daughters with the combined age of 4 who saw him die. And they even ran up to him because they were, you know, apparently, or like from what I hear, afraid of the noise, or their father just got hurt. That to me, and then again, you see that, and your reaction is to laugh, and it's like, haha, what the fuck? Now, why does this happen? I apologize. I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry I'm sorry for the language. Funny coming from me who swears a lot, swears like a truck driver. But again, I want to make this very clear. I want to say it as clear as possible. That is sickening. It is sickening. It's one thing if, you know, you're making a joke or like trying to make a lighthearted situation. Like, let's not pretend that we're related to the victim here. All right? It's one thing to make a lighthearted joke, but it's another thing to just openly celebrate in front of a man's wife and kids, to celebrate his immediate assassination. that is disgusting. And if you were like, you know, if there was somebody, and you know what, I have a lot of people in my life who I don't like, right? And if I saw something like that, it would shock me to my core. My reaction wouldn't be joy, it would be shock. And it really says a lot to what the media perpetuates. Not just the media. I'm talking about the media. I'm talking about our educators. I am talking about the people in our society, basically, or the people who we have given power, who are the, whatever you want to call it. Now, and when I'm saying the media, I'm talking about everything. Everything in the book. All right? I'm talking legacy media, social media, etc. All of these things have come together and have basically divided this entire country, and this is the aftermath of that. This is a reaction that was, for lack of better words, expected. You can't sit here and tell me like, oh my God, I wouldn't have expected this. Yes, you did. And if you didn't, you're either living under a rock or you're just willfully or unwillfully dumb. There is no way, like living under a rock, unwillfully dumb. There is no way you can sit here and tell me that this was not like, an obvious, this was not an obvious thing that was going to happen. Now I'm sitting here and I'm scared, not only for my life, but for the life of people who are now coming to me, and they're telling me that they're afraid for their lives. These are people who are in my life. They are people who I know. I don't want to say who they are. I do not want to give anybody an ounce of ammunition on who these people are. I don't want to give anybody ammunition on the people close to me. That's why I hid my face for so long, because I fear for myself. I fear for myself, and I fear for those who I love. So I like to hide myself, and I like to be as quiet as possible. But now I feel like this is a turning point for me, for not only, the US, but not only for the US, not only for the world, but for me. Sorry, I know I'm going a bit on a tangent here, but it's only because, again, I'm still in shock just in the amount of the amount of division that has been festering for these last 2 days. And I just, I'm still trying to find the words of how to describe this. Anyways. Now, this false narrative of whether or not, like, Kirk was, if Kirk was a Nazi or whatever, I have a good comparison for this. And let's say, if we want to play devil's advocate here, and I even mentioned this in my last video in one of the comments, because somebody was, and, again, they weren't comparing him to anybody who was a Nazi. They were talking about the people who are. If we're going to play devil's advocate here and say that these people are complete deplorables, this is basically like cheering on, this is basically like taking out John Rabe when you have Joseph Goebbels, okay? If you don't know what that reference is, I encourage you to pick up a history book. And I know for a fact that the majority of these people haven't done a damn thing when it comes to history. They have a very misguided knowledge of what history is. And I don't blame them for it. I really don't. I blame the media, I blame social media, and overall, I blame our educators. Now, I keep mentioning educators. Why do I keep mentioning educators? Now, this was a story that really shocked me. And honestly, it's a story that I called. I called this. I was talking to to a friend of mine who happens to be a parent, and I was telling her, like, you got to watch out, because I know for a fact that they're going to start coming after everybody on both sides are going to start coming after the educators. Now, what do I mean by that? You're either going to have parents who are mad because, this is clearly a high profile case. You're going to have parents who are going to be asking or demanding their teacher. Okay, I'm just not going to sugarcoat it. Public schools definitely have been hijacked by the left. They have been. At least in my neighborhood, they have been hijacked by the left. ever since I was in elementary school to high school to college, the school system has been hijacked by these leftist ideals. And I'm honestly sickened and saddened by it, because I know a lot of liberal teachers of mine, right? Former teachers of mine who are liberal. I feel for them, because I know they're going to get roped into this crazed dogmatic leftist ideals. Now, into this group. It is basically you have a rabid dog inside the kennel, and it's pretty much going to infect the entire kennel if it's not dealt with accordingly. Now, and I want to say this really clearly: do not do anything. Nothing I say. Do not take anything I say as a call to action. I will make no calls to any actions whatsoever. And if anybody does anything in my name, you are disavowed. You will be disavowed. If anybody in my comments, if anybody in my Discord server, in my DMs says anything that is a call to action, a call to violence, a call to anything that is despicable, you will be blocked, you will be reported, and formally disavowed by me and by my mods. And I am making that very clear. Now, this is why I bring this up. There was a story where the Toronto District School Board, the TDSB, is being investigated after a teacher allegedly showed a student a video of Charlie Kirk's killing. This is one of those things where I call it. I knew something was going to happen with the schools. I knew it. And I'm surprised that I knew it. I knew it, but I didn't expect it to be in my own neighborhood. That's why this thing is really bothering me. It's because it's in a school board that's in a city I live in. What the hell? And this isn't a shock. I say I'm in Toronto, and I know Toronto is a very liberal place. And, and I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. A lot of people around me are really good people, I like to think, and I hope they think the same about me. But this is despicable. Now, if you don't know the story is basically that a teacher, not a homeroom teacher, but I think it was a teaching assistant or something like that, was basically getting asked a question on what happened, and then they showed the video. That is disgusting. That is deplorable. You have just introduced a child, an 11-year-old child, to something that they will not unsee. I am somebody who is an adult. I am 10 years that kid's senior, and I am traumatized from what I saw. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. And thankfully, they have been swiftly fired from their job. Anybody like that should be fired. They should be fired. They shouldn't be allowed to be teaching our children. They shouldn't be in a position like that. Not because we disagree politically. That doesn't matter. Just the fact that you would show something like that to a child is disgusting. You cannot introduce children to something so graphic. Now, what do I mean by this? When I say educators. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, I'm just looking back at my notes here. Now, what do I mean by educators? I'll get back to the educators in a second. I want to get back to the educators in a second. Actually, no, sorry. I will talk about the educators now, because I've already talked about it. Now, the people supporting these courses of action. Sorry. I'm trying to keep everything within the notes, but I kind of went over on a tangent here, but now I think I have to finish this, so I will finish it now. So the people supporting these courses of actions, these people are not good for society. I'm going to outright say it. They're not good for society. They are dangerous, and they are deplorable. Now, what has caused these people to get like this? It's clearly the media that they consume. And it's not their choice. It's what they're constantly fed. When you're constantly fed the same message that these people are inhumane or inhumane individuals, you're going to end up thinking that what you do is righteous, even though it is clearly not. And I hope it's clear that it's not. And what are these people? These are people who are educators. They are nurses, game developers, comedians. I've been scrolling on my phone and I have been seeing people from all of these groups getting their, basically getting fired, thankfully, because now we have everybody from the right now becoming those Karens, and now these people are now starting to scream for free speech. These are the same people who would do everything in their power to make sure that somebody like you or me, would lose their job, would lose their career, would lose everything. These are those same people now getting the same treatment after literally doing a call for after literally spewing out a call to action. Now they're getting their comeuppance, and honestly, it is a bit it's a bit I guess cathartic is the right word. Maybe it's the right word, I don't know, but seeing that, just seeing that somebody in that kind of power, like an educator, is disheartening. It's disheartening. And I know and even in my own personal life, I have been ridiculed, I have been shamed, I have even been, in some cases, I don't want to say threatened, but I have been told by educators in this very system, right? In this very system, that my beliefs are detrimental and dangerous and will get me killed. And that was told to me by somebody when I was 14 years old, right? Now, I will admit it, like when I'm 14 years old, right? I didn't know jack shit and fuck all. I'll admit when I was 14 years old, I didn't know much about the world around me, but instead of trying to have a respectful dialogue, I was told exactly that. My thoughts are dangerous and will get me killed. That was an educator. It's anecdotal, but this is a fact that has happened to me. Now, do I know this person's name? No, I don't remember. This was a long time ago. This was about, I want to say 7 years ago this happened. I don't remember the person. I can barely remember their face. I do remember their words. And that's a fact. And this is only one out of, I want to say, probably 4 cases that have happened to me personally. And I've even had other stories from my friends, on the more right side of the aisle, who have had similar experiences. But in reality, what they will do instead is not give their actual opinions and just give something for a better grade. Now, that is not a way for a society to run, where our educators are indoctrinating our youth with this dogmatic idea, with these dogmatic ideals of righteousness. It's not. It's not. We do, as a society, know what is evil and what isn't evil. But I think what we're doing right now is we're changing the bar from what is evil, and we are lowering the bar. That is the problem here. We are lowering the bar of what is considered evil, and it is hurting everybody on both sides. Because you can also say the same thing from people on the right now towards the left. And I am honestly afraid for people and again, like I said in the last video, I'm afraid for people on both sides. I care for everybody on both sides. I don't care what your political affiliations is, just as long as you're not calling to violence against the persons or against the peoples. And I shouldn't have to say that, but again, we've lowered the bar. Now, one other thing I want to say, again, what I was saying too about jokes and everything, the whole South Park, I want to make a quick note about South Park. South Park is innocent in all this. They are innocent in all this. Everyone is now saying on the right, they're blaming everybody on the left, or they're basically pinning the blame on everybody. South Park has done nothing wrong. They made a joke, even Charlie laughed at it. It was a simple joke, and it's now being taken out of proportion. I just hope that nothing happens to the show South Park. I hope they don't get canceled. It's a really funny show. I tend to enjoy it. They are innocent in this situation. The people who are not innocent in this situation, of course, are the people who have been misleading the population, the general population, on what these people are, who these people are, how they think. They want you to fear your neighbor. That's what they want. And unfortunately now, and I want to say, like, I want to say that things can be fixed. Things can be, rectified. We can come back together. The only way to do that is if these people who are radical, who are insane, are ostracized from society. And I don't want, and when I say that, I don't mean, again, I do not mean anything negative, like anything negative towards their persons or towards their sovereignty or such. I do not want any harm done on anybody. But what I am referring to is they should be at least recognized as not well, as insane, and it should be told that this kind of action, these kinds of actions, these kinds of words should not be said. This kind of rhetoric should have to stop. And, from the words of Captain Price, the only way to get rid of a fire is to have an even bigger explosion, snuffing the flames. And when I say that, I make the comparison as in, be a Karen, I guess. And that's what's happening. Everyone's, now getting fired. They're getting, like, they're getting fired from their jobs. Like this teacher, for example, they got fired from their job. If I can pull out the news report here. Yeah, people are losing their jobs, minds for celebrating Charlie Kirk. For his slaying. Now, I want to keep my composure. I don't want to say anything that would get me deplatformed, that would get me in trouble. I don't want to say anything, and I want to make my words very clear. I want no harm done to anybody. I want this to stop. The reason why I am making this is because I want the violence to stop. It has affected me so much in a way that I don't even think I can explain. I don't have the words for it. This is deplorable, and it's sad. And now I am somebody who is a supporter and a staunch advocate for freedom of expression. I 100% believe in that. Now, of course, there's always exceptions to every rule, and I think now we have figured out what the exception is. And I hope that I hope nothing but positive outcomes can come from this. I hope that every sane person can come together in solidarity. We recognize what's going on. I hope that people can come together and put their differences aside. That is my overall hope for the world. And one other thing I want to talk about too as well, and this is just one last thing before I say my concluding statement, and it's about guns. Now, I'm somebody who has used guns, who has friends and family who own guns. This is not a gun debate. I do not want it to be a gun debate. I don't want to start anything. Do not turn it into that. Like the thing is too, another thing as well, I want everybody to stop pretending to be an expert. I have been told multiple times that the person who did this must have been heavily trained and this and that and blah blah blah. No, they're not. Anybody can do it. I could do it when I was 7. I'm not saying I did it, but a shot like that could be made on a stationary target at that range, at that angle. It can be done. Now, I know there's a video out there of an actual sniper explaining it, and he could probably explain it better than me, but, or not probably, he could not probably, he could definitely explain it better than me, but I want people to stop basically spreading on both sides misinformation. It has to stop. If you want to talk about this, give your own 2 cents on what you understand and what you know. That's all I ask. All right, I'm only giving information about what I know. And you can debate me in the comments. You can say I'm wrong with a lot of things. I expect that and I accept that. But there are certain things, because I'm only going off of my own perspective, right? I'm going off of my own anecdotes. I'm going off of what I see in my life. Now, I want to make one conclusion, and I want to also kind of circle back to why I'm saying this is really, like, as somebody who makes gaming content, why this affects me. Now, like I said, when people are losing their jobs, somebody from Ghosts of Yote, one of their developers at Sucker Punch, have lost their jobs for celebrating his death. That's what happened. That's what they said. That's what they did. That's what I know. I don't know what the exact tweets were, or no, not tweets. It was Blue Sky. I don't know the full story, but that's what happened. They're literally in our games companies. Like, and I said this 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I mentioned this, right? I was talking about this, how games journalists, not just games journalists now, people developing video games are now essentially poisoned with this radical left ideology. And it's in some ways concerning. Now, and another thing as well, with the whole Helldivers thing, and this is, again, because I was in the middle of editing a Helldivers video. I was working on a Helldivers video, and just to hear about the one of the memes that this guy put on the bullet was what was it? It was the 500 kg. It was, hey Fash, catch this, and it was the 500 kg symbol, and it's, I will admit the irony in this, because a man fighting for democracy was just got a whole Helldivers reference, and also yeah, I you know what, I feel like just finding that out, just re-added to the devastation that I felt. Like, I felt devastated when I first saw it, and seeing this made me even more devastated. And actually hit closer to home, because I was like, playing Helldivers and just seeing this, it's like, oh fuck. And it's kind of like with the excuse my language, it's kind of even the same thing with like the I think the furry meme, where it was like, notice his bulge, like, or ooh, however you pronounce it. And again, like, as somebody who makes jokes like that, like, who does make jokes like that, it's essentially a sobering, a sobering reality of like, oh my God, when does the joke stop becoming a joke and it's taken too far? And I think this was like, again, I think the bar has been lowered on all fronts. Now, I do have a message to my friends, family, fans, to everybody here. This is the last video I'm going to make on this topic. I do not want my channel to turn into something like this. I don't want to. I made this because I felt like it was important to me. But overall, what is important is entertainment. I'm here to entertain. That's my first, and I think that is my first gift that was given to me from God is, and I'm told by a lot of people, I'm an entertaining person, and people love to watch me and they think I'm entertaining, and I want to keep you entertained. I want to keep you laughing. I want to keep you happy. There are some things, though, that I have to be honest with, not only you, with myself, I just, in general, I have to be honest about. And when something like this disturbs me and it affects my creativity, I feel like it is important I explain it to everybody. And I really do. And, and that is to everybody in my life, everybody who is around me, everybody. This is a message to all of you. I love you, and I hope the best for you. And I hope whatever happens in life, I hope that whether negative or positive, I just hope that at the end of the tunnel, you have lived not only the best life you can live, is what I'm going to get at. You know, I'm sorry it got a little bit somber there at the end, but it was one of those things that I just had to say. Now, this is official. It's 6:30 as time of recording this. I'm going to get ready now for a Twitch stream. I'm going to be playing, I don't know, maybe Helldivers, maybe Space Marines, maybe 7 Days to Die. Probably, I want to be playing video games. I want to ignore what's happening out there in the world. I want to sit down and enjoy life. That's what I want. And if you would like to join me on that, please come to the stream. You know, feel free to talk about whatever you want, just as long as it, you know, it follows the terms of service. You know, and just know my moderators are going to be on standby, and not only my moderators, I'm going to be on standby. So if you decide to chat anything that is undesirable, like I said, you will be removed. You will be blocked. That's all I'm going to say. And I shouldn't be putting that burden. Actually, I'm going to be putting that burden solely on me. I shouldn't be putting that burden on my moderators solely. But anyways, that's all I had to say. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. You were a man of God. Whether or not we agree or disagree on a lot of things, doesn't matter. Shouldn't have happened. And I hope everybody has a good rest of your day.